Hey, greetings everyone. I certainly appreciate you joining me, and this is a subject I know a lot of people will be interested in. I will begin with the story. Many years ago in the state of Florida, there was a church that had gone from almost 13 people. I actually preached this church, their first revival. We had 27 people to 30 people a night, and they'd grown to over 15,000 members. And they were very much involved with helping people and feeding people and in the community. However, they had had some people that had been involved with their ministry that had moved to other places or left their ministry, or some of them were removed from ministry. And so all of a sudden, this particular couple began to see their names appear in the local newspaper. And people, of course, the reports were always negative. They were never positive. And so people would begin to send me the papers, which I did not ask for, by the way. And I would read it. Now, I've known this couple from the very beginning of their ministry. When they started the church, I knew the people that attended. I'd been there many times. So I took a marker and I started going through the paper. I said, now that's only half truth. They've not told all the story. That's a half truth they've only told. Oh boy, that is not true at all. And I remember one section mentioned an older lady that the pastor had taken her money from her and invested it. And that was true, but they didn't tell you the rest. This woman had asked the pastor to take her money and invest it for her. She didn't know how to do it, to help her make money for the future. The pastor had actually tripled and quadrupled the woman's income. It was all, a part of what they had agreed on, but the paper never said that he had tripled the woman's income. So they wanted to imply that he had taken this widow woman's money. I knew the true story. I knew, should I say, all the story. And so when my friends were in the newspaper, finally they ended up suing the newspaper and got some results out of that. But when I began to ask, my friend said to the reporter, why did you do this to us? Why was it that you just stayed on? And he said two things, and I'm going to give you the quote. He said, two reasons. Number one, ratings, and number two, paper income. Because everybody knew you, our paper sales were better when we reported anything on you. Now, this is what the reporter said after they finally settled everything. And so Rick Renner, in the Pandemic of Inactivity, this is a book that he wrote. Rick Renner, if you ever get a book by Rick Renner of any kind, it will be one of the best books you'll ever read. I can say that. He talked about the abundance of idleness. And we have always heard that idleness is the devil's workshop. And under COVID, people spent so much time on the internet. I mean, they literally spent entire 8 to 10 hours a day looking at blogs and looking at things and looking at videos. And so when there is an abundance of idleness, there will always be the ability of the enemy to do things that he wants to do. It was like in the days of Lot, if you remember, there was an abundance of idleness in the cities, and the old and young men had gotten involved with a lot of immoral activity. We won't go into that. Uncivil behavior, according to Rick Renner. 70% of the people in America in a poll have said that uncivil behavior is now at epidemic proportions. Suicides are taking place with young people because of cyberbullying over the internet. The political climate is unrestrained emotional outburst on the majority of news shows. If you've ever watched a news show, when you put a Democrat or Republican, I mean, one of them inevitably is going to end up screaming and yelling. I mean, it's just how it works. Sometimes both of them, but one of them at least will do that. And so this emotional outbursts are so common now in the climate that we're in, the secular media climate that we're in. In 2 Timothy 3:3, it talks about there would come a time when people would be incontinent, and that means no self-control or no self-restraint. People can no longer reconcile their differences. It is impossible for people to sit at a table almost anywhere in the world today and reconcile their differences because everybody's just gone wild with their own opinions, ideas, and beliefs. Today's social media, people are bolder to say whatever they want to say, whether it is a truth or a lie, because the information is usually not vented over the internet, and they are proud of their ugliness and their hateful spirit. They pride themselves in it. Pew Research, 73% of adults have seen someone harassed on the internet. Now think about these statistics. 40% say they themselves have been harassed in some form over the internet. 92%, and these are recent polls by Pew Research, 92% say the interaction on the internet emboldens anger, rudeness, and aggression. And you see it all the time when people post their opinion, and somebody will come along and post against it. And then the next thing you know, they're wasting their 30 minutes of time that they could be praying, arguing back and forth with each other. I'm telling you, it's very provoking when you understand the distraction being caused by this type of thing. 70% of those between 18 to 24 have been harassed on the internet, and many have experienced road rage, and a few have even experienced being shot at during times of anger, road rage, and even fighting in the restaurants. People fight in the restaurants. Now people go out and get a gun and shoot somebody. It is the violence of the days of Noah that we are experiencing. It is the mob mentality of the days of Lot in Luke chapter 19. Now, I am in media. I'm in television for 22 years. Well, actually, if I count the time I worked with station, over 32 years. I have been involved with television, actually longer than that. So I am involved with media. I know how media works. Now on the Manifest telecast, we pay for our airtime with the exception of 1 or 2 stations. We're thankful for that. And we advertise our own products to help keep the Manifest program on the air. Perry Stone does not get a royalty from anything that's sold on the Manifest telecast. It all goes back to Voice of Evangelism Ministry 100%. And so keep that in mind. Now, because of that, I do not do an outside advertisement by someone else. If I were in the media, what we call the secular media, news media, etc., or even programming media, and were able to take advertisements that people pay for on my program, because our program in certain parts of the world is rated in 1, 2, or 3, then if I were charging for advertisements, I could charge a higher rate because of the viewing audience. The point is that in any media, whether it's magazine, paper, or the secular television media, if the viewing audience begins to decline and go down, they depend on revenue from the sale of advertisements. You know, every 14 minutes they go to a break and here's, 4 commercials or whatever time they use, 12 minutes, whatever. And so they have to keep the ratings up, the viewing audience up, the paper sales up, the magazine sales up, not only to clear a better profit, but to also help in the ratings of being able to say, well, here's what our advertisement costs because we have X number of readers. We have X number of viewers. Here's our statistics. So the media, all of it, everybody say with me, all of it is into making money. This is how it all works. It is not about, well, let me just say this. It is actually about money, and the more sensational a report comes, or if a person's name is known, it sells them more papers, it sells them more advertising dollars. It's really about marketing and advertising dollars all the way around. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them marketing and advertising and all that. That's their business. But I'm letting you know it's about that. So it's not always about what's true or not. It's about the advertising dollars. Number 2, information can be twisted by the God of this world so easily. So when you're dealing with a Christian system who wants to be honest, whether it's in media or paper media or video media, whatever, satellite, then you can deal with them because you know they have an integrity area of trying to be honest. When you deal with the secular individuals, it has been proven, if you know anything about the major secular networks, it has been proven that they will give a false scenario and then, 2, 3 years down the road come back and apologize for it. And I don't want to go into collusions and all that was presented a couple years back. Always remember number 3, that in all media, you will hear the journalist or the reporter say, it has been alleged. Now, the reason they use the word alleged is they're getting a report from someone and they try to exempt themselves from a possible lawsuit if the information is correct by always saying it has been alleged. You'll see alleged all over the place. It has been reported. This person said allegedly, and you'll see that word used quite a bit, okay? And what's sad about that is There have been men in prison for years, 10 years, 20 years. One man was almost 40 years. It was life in prison. And when DNA came out and they retested the DNA, he didn't do the crime. He kept telling people, I didn't do this, but nobody believed him. And only with the DNA evidence, and I say that's what's so sad about so many. There are people in prison that really have they have no business being there. And if they had the right, well, that's another thing. But DNA has proven that in some cases. Number 4, if you've also noticed in whether it be magazines, papers, or the secular news media, there's a lot of according to a source which asks not to be identified. Now, pardon me, but I'm going to say this to you. I personally, all my life, have had a problem with people who want to say something and not put your name behind it. Because I grew up that my word is my bond. And if I tell you, you can back it up. If I tell you something, because my name will be connected to my word. Your word is your bond and your word is connected to your name. If you're going to say something, I want to go off the record because I don't want my name there. You shouldn't even be saying anything because you're not willing to place your name there. That tells me there's something within you that's restraining you from doing that. And I just question a lot of times for the past, since I was a kid, and I learned this thing being in media myself, I would always question those type of things because if I'm going to tell you something, I'll put my name behind it because I believe in what I'm saying to you. And I think you understand what I'm saying there. And the 5th thing that we deal with is always remember that people, and I'm not talking about necessarily in programming, but I'm talking about the people that are involved with making it are always trying to move themselves up to the next level, to the next big job, to the next big city. So a lot of times, people are working on self-promotion when they become involved with certain things in media. The reason I'm telling you that is from 2016 to 2020, Sean Hannity reported over 40, I think it was 48 actual lies that were reported by the media that were completely disproven in lawsuits and disproven in court cases and disproven actually by people that they were talking about. And so I want to say, I think there's very few people today that would say, well, if it's on YouTube, you can believe it, or man, if it's in the paper, you can believe it, or if it's in, and I'm not going to name a network, says it's got to be true. And I think that we have to be careful in when we are getting our information and the sources from which they come by at any given time. And so it's very important that if you are doing, for example, a YouTube video, don't just go by what everybody has said, thus saith the Lord. Vet your information before you teach it, because I could tell you some stories where people did put information on YouTube, for example, and it was completely incorrect information because they got it from a second or third hand person and assumed it was. So what we are going to always do at the Voice of Evangelism Ministry, when we share with you something from the Word of God, or we share with you a story, or we share with you an incident, we will be able to tell you that what we have shared with you and said with you on our YouTube channel, we've searched the Word, we have done the Hebrew and Greek word studies, we know the person personally, because we want to be accurate in what when we share with you information, and we always will do our best to do that. Well, anyway, I thought you'd find that just a perspective from someone who's been in media for full-time television 22 years, and in media itself over 30-some years, 32 years, that you might find a few of those things interesting. And if you find it interesting, give us a thumbs up, okay? We certainly would appreciate that. And we have more videos coming out in the future, and we sure hope that you stay with us and continue to follow us. Thank you for your time. God bless you. Greetings, everyone. This is Perry Stone, and I have a great announcement for you. I'm now making available to each of you the International Prophetic Summit, the greatest summit I was ever able to participate in. These are available on CD and DVD albums. There are 11 messages in all by myself, Bill Cloud, Mark Biltz, and also Joel Richardson. Let me just give you the titles you're going to hear. Is the Seven-Sealed Book Now Being Opened? The Parable of the Fig Tree and What It Means for America. What would Jesus do during this present civil war? A biblical response to aliens and UFOs. I preached a message called The Green New Deal and its economic impact on your family. Another great message that was preached. A word for America from the prophecy of Habakkuk. Another message is called What Time Is It? Bill Cloud stunned the audience with a message called Beware the Aviv Rav. I preached a message called Answering Tough Apocalyptic Questions That No One is Answering. Mark Biltz came back and preached a message called Jeremiah is a Prophet for Our Day. I closed the conference out with this message, Should You Prepare for a Pele Transition? Now I want to say something to you. It is a right now word. They are prophetic. They answer questions. And these are the unedited versions of the message. Now listen to me. On the Manifest telecast, you only get about 20 to 21 minutes of a message. I still have another 40 minutes to preach. Not only that, but we never show the speaker's messages. And sometimes some of the information they share is for certain at-home ears only. It really would be rejected if it was put on social media. So I'm going to tell you how to get this series. If you want to get the CD album, the number is 21PS CD, and it's for $65 or more donation. If you would like to get the DVDs, and can I suggest to you to get the DVDs because, especially with Mark Biltz, they have PowerPoint pictures. I show you pictures in my messages, and people really seem to enjoy that. But the DVDs are offer number 21PS DVD for $95. Now here's how you order. You can call toll-free 1-888-21-BREAD, order that way, or you can contact perrystone.org on the internet, log on and order online, or just send us a check to Perry Stone, P.O. Box 3595, Cleveland, Tennessee 37320. Now remember this, that those checks and those orders go 100% to the Voice of Evangelism Ministry to help keep the Manifest program on the air. Now we're living in the greatest prophetic times that there's ever been. There is a clash between two kingdoms taking place. You are only arming yourself properly if you are armed with revelation knowledge and the truth of God's Word. May I encourage you, call, go online, or write me right now. God bless you.